So for journal two, I just kind of wanted to talk about content that we covered today, because as I talked about kind of during conference, like I'm really interested in just trying to get more comfortable with dealing with gender and sexual identity amongst teenagers and children, and just reading about and talking about in our groups, just about how that relates to like children in the foster care system. I think that is extremely interesting. Um, I feel like I've seen a lot more in like recent years, even though there is few, close to none, promoting like same sex couples or transgenders. Not so much transgenders though, more so like same sex couples adopting. And I think it was a really good point that you made. Well, somebody else had made, I think, during class today. Like, for some children, that might be way more comfortable for them. And something else that I was also thinking about, which is kind of like off in a tangent, but anyway, um, it was like, yes, we need to figure out a way to resolve this issue. But then it brought us back to like, is that gender identity and sexual identity a huge deal and it's very important? Yes. But also, it's like, it's so hard to get people to think deeper than things that are surface level, because at this point, if we can't get past race, is kind of how I'm looking at it. Like, you can look at me and there's nothing I can do about it. I can't hide it. And you can discriminate against somebody based on their race. It's like people aren't ready to process what it will take to get rid of their biases and the way they discriminate or mistreat or even murder and kill people who identify as LGBTQ. And it's just a really hard realization to come to. Like, when we were talking about it in class, I was just kind of thinking, like, how do we resolve that, you know? And it's unfortunate because it almost makes it seem like people who identify as LGBTQ are wrong. Like, they're wrong to identify that way. Even though they're grown adults, they maintain work, they have the credibility to say that they are totally capable of doing this, but simply because you identify as LGBTQ, you're not qualified to parent foster children. And that's really unfortunate. Like, there's so many kids in the foster care system that have nowhere to go. And not even in just like racial discrimination, right? Just in the foster care system in general, older kids, it's harder for older kids to even get adopted. So, of course, it's going to be harder for them to be older and be LGBTQ. It's just so many layers of things to think about. And also to just be trying to think about, like, what is the solution? What is the best way? Like, could we create, I guess, or maybe would it be better to just start a separate organization for people who identify LGBTQ to advocate for their right to adopt children? Or could it, I mean, I don't know. There's just so many ways to do it. And I'm thinking that is something that really holds value for those kids. That would change the life of so many. So that's just something I was really thinking about today, especially after it was brought up in class and just kind of just looking over what we talked about in the chapters. And that's just extremely unfortunate that so many kids miss out on the opportunity of having a family just because the person that would love to take them in identifies as LGBTQ. So that's what I wanted to talk about in journal two. Thanks.